Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Rosanna. My guest is Ahmad-Shah Duranai. I always get stumped
Yeah.
on that one. Duranai, who is an author, speaker, leadership and communications coach, master trainer of verbal Aikido, architect, and project manager. Ahmad is also the founder and CEO of Duranet Enterprises, creator of programs in leadership development, communication skills, mental health, and high performance team dynamics. He received the 2013 Lieutenant Governor of Ontario Award and Medal in Humanities and Social Justice, as well as the 2020 Peace Ambassador Award from the United Peace Federation. Ahmad is also the author and co-author of 5 published books, among them The Leadership Zone, Lessons from the Front Lines, and the international bestseller Peeking Behind the Scene, A Deliberate Path to Success. Welcome, Ahmad. It's great to have you on this morning. And you are a repeat guest for me. And so, we've had the pleasure of speaking and recording a prior session, but welcome.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine. Obviously, uh, to have a repeat client means that your services are excellent.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, Ahmad, you and I were speaking maybe a week or two ago on various topics, and one of the topics really intrigued me. And so I thought, oh, you know what? Like, I'm going to have you as a guest on my podcast again, because I think it's fascinating. And so we were talking about, or you brought up cycles and
Yeah.
how we all have these cycles and we have them open, but we should close them for our emotional wellness, well-being. And so I wanted to share with the audience what is a cycle? What is a cycle of action that you and I were discussing?
Yeah. Well, very good. Simply speaking, a cycle of action is anything that we intend to do and do it and then finish it. So that will be a cycle of action. So the cycle of action is actually you start something and then you change it. That means you work on it, you develop it, and then you close it. You stop working on it. This is a cycle of action. We talked about open cycles, and that
Yes.
is, I believe, we are going to talk about today. So, what is an open cycle, and how does it occur, and how it impacts our emotions, our life, how much stress it creates in our body and in our life.
Can you give us an example of a cycle or an
Yeah.
open cycle?
So let's say an open cycle will be I wanted a very simple thing is that I decided that I'm going to call my sister who lives in California. I start this cycle of action, but then life happens and I don't call her.
Okay. Things get in the
It
way,
remains,
right?
yes, things get in the way, so that becomes an open cycle. Or I decide that, let's say, uh, in a month's time, I'm going to visit a particular place, go on a trip, and then a month passes by, and I something happens, something else happens, I don't do it, and that remains an open cycle for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So it becomes an accumulated thing.
Hmm.
So if I bring a metaphor of a computer and relate it to open cycles, it will be like you open your computer and then you have a particular document. You open that document and you make some changes, you edit, etc., but you don't close it. You
Mm.
keep it open. And then the next, when that's finished, after a few minutes, you open another document and you make some changes and you don't close it. And you do another one, open and don't do anything. You open, you don't close them. as these open documents accumulate, it fills the RAM of the computer. The computer slows down. As the more documents we open, eventually the computer not only slows down, it will crash. We human beings
Hmm.
accumulate open cycles the same way as we grow up. When we are young, we make certain intentions and decisions that we do things and then we don't do them. And they remain in the back of our, what I refer to as the memory bank.
Hmm.
And then another thing we decide and then we don't do them. And then there are other things we make an intention, we do them, we complete them, and they are gone out of our memory. Uh, but slowly, every year, every month, every week, we make these intentions and we don't do anything about it and we don't close them. So they remain open cycles. And as we grow up, it takes our memory and then our memory is jammed. It affects our life in the sense that we slow down in computing things.
Mm.
We slow down in paying attention to certain things.
Because
And
we
these
have
are
so
open cycles. Yes,
because we have so many things open
yes,
that we can't
open.
focus
Yeah.
on what's really important, maybe.
Yes, yeah.
So are the open cycles similar to goals? Goals that we make that, um we don't complete, we don't achieve?
No, goals are a completely different thing. It could remain if you don't take any action. You just, you know, set a goal, but you don't take any action in that direction. It
Mhm.
becomes an open cycle.
Oh, so the goal becomes an open cycle.
An open cycle. If you don't take any action, but whether you succeed or you fail, you still took action and you closed it. You failed, you didn't get it, but it's a closed cycle. Or you achieved your goal and it's closed. It's a closed cycle. But
Right.
when you don't do anything good at it, is an open cycle.
Okay. Yeah, because with a goal, even though you're right. So even though you don't achieve it, you might say, okay, that's it. It's not going to be my goal anymore because I can't
Yeah,
achieve it. So you make that decision.
yeah,
But the decision, I guess, or the cycle to, let's say you use the example of calling your sister, that it remains open because it's something that, to nurture those relationships, it's something that you
yeah,
should be doing.
yeah. So let's say I make a decision now, but let's say that I'm going to call now, and if you don't call it now or today, it becomes an open cycle. But let's say in a week's time I call, the cycle is closed.
It's closed, right? Okay. And so they affect our life, the quality of our life, because then we have all these open cycles on our mind, I guess.
Yeah. So one of the way that stress is defined as our reduced ability to compute things. And
Okay.
the more open cycles we have, uh, the less our ability will be to compute, to focus on certain things.
Hmm.
There are a zillion things people say. There are a zillion things on my mind, and I don't know, I don't have time to look at this thing.
Right.
Okay,
It's
that,
all
that is the effect of accumulated open cycles. There are also some studies that I cannot verify scientifically the sources of from where they come, but they say that a lot of people, when they grow older, they are in their 60s and 70s, their short-term memory is reduced. It is because they have way too many open cycles that have accumulated over their lifespan.
oh,
They will remember what they did when they were children because they closed that open cycle and it's no more in their short-term memory bank. But all the open cycles remain in the short-term memory bank and they won't remember what they had for lunch.
right. Okay. So all these things, these open cycles from the past, we might not even know that we have them, right?
Yes,
Or
we may not remember them because they will be, because there are so many other open cycles on top of it.
Right.
Okay.
So how do you know if you have any open cycles? And
There are several ways. One of them, there are certain things that we will remember because we made a decision yesterday or last week or last month, and it's still fresh in our memory, but we didn't take any action. So that will be one. It's like you go shopping and you have a to-do list.
Mhm.
If those items on your to-do list, you didn't check everyone that it was done, it remains an open cycle. So those are there that you can then complete, do something about it. Okay?
Okay.
But there are other things that we don't remember. So what we do is in my stress management workshop,
Mhm.
I provide a list of items for people to trigger their memories. And what I would like is to share with you a few of those items.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Extensive list, and I think your audience could benefit by it. Just to remember that, you know, the idea is that for people, in order to clear their memory and refresh and to get a surge of energy, okay, they prepare a list of open cycles and then close them.
Okay.
We have done many tests in my workshops where people we tell them to prepare a list of 10 open cycles in their life, and
Mhm.
whatever comes to their mind, they put them there. And then we tell them that, okay, now take the first one and take the first action to close it.
Okay.
It might require, a phone call, it might require something else, or it might require a decision. So it's
Mhm.
either by action or by decision that you close an open cycle. The decision will be that, okay, this intention that I had was serving me, let's say 5, 10 years ago, but it doesn't serve me anymore, so I don't need it. You decide and it's closed.
Okay.
Okay. Or you take that action, you make that phone call and make an appointment for, let's say I wanted to make um, to have a physical checkup, but I didn't get to it. So now
Mhm.
it's in my list. I make a phone call to my doctor and make an appointment. So
Okay.
I'm in the process of closing it.
Yeah.
When the appointment is made, I go there and the cycle will be closed. But let's say to remember, there could be hundreds. There's some people could have thousands of those open cycles.
Right. And how do you remember them?
Yeah. So this is a list to trigger the memory. One of them could be there are personal issues that you wanted to do, but you didn't do it.
Hmm.
There are things on your mind that you still remember. Things in your mind you wanted to do, but you didn't do them, but it's still in your mind and you want to do them. So jot them down. Then there are things that upset you. There are certain things that upset you, but you haven't taken any action
So you're
to do
still
anything
holding on
about.
to those
Yes,
things.
yes, exactly. Those upsets. Okay. There
Hmm.
are problems. You consider them as problems. Other people may not consider them as problems, but for
Right.
you, problems. So you just jot them down. 1, 2, 3. These are problems. These are open cycles because you
Hmm.
haven't resolved them. There are past relationships that you had, certain things that happened, certain things that during the relationship you wanted to do, but you didn't do them, and after the relationship is over, you didn't close certain things, so you just do that.
Right.
Current relationships that you have, you will have some open cycles. You want to tell your partner certain things, but you are hesitating, or they remain open cycles.
Hmm.
So these are things that you need to put a list and then to find uh, an amicable way of closing those cycles so that the relationship is enhanced rather than
Right.
harmed.
So resolving and
Yes, yeah,
closing. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So there are issues with your parents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has some
Everybody
issues
has.
so you can write them down. There are issues with siblings. If,
Hmm.
if you have siblings, I'm sure you will have issues with them. All open cycles don't have to be negative.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there could be positive, but still open cycle. It still takes memory.
Right. Right.
Yeah. There are issues with in-laws. Okay. There are issues with children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, I'm sure a lot of parents, they wanted their children to become doctors or lawyers or certain other
Right.
things, that something that the parents couldn't do. They want their children to do it. So
Yes. Yeah. We want to
they,
live through our children. Yeah.
exactly, we want to fulfill our dreams through our children.
That's right. Yeah.
So those will be open cycles. Extended family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, your workplace. In the workplace, you will have some issues with your bosses, with your colleagues, with your co-workers. Um, the current company you are working or the company you are keeping, your
Mm-hmm.
friends you are keeping, certain issues
Mm-hmm.
come
Yeah.
up there. So any group that you are part of, you might be a member of a club, you might be a member of a networking BNI or something, or you might be uh, in a political party or something like that. There are some issues that come up there
Mm-hmm.
that you haven't attended to. You wanted to do something, you wanted to say something, but you didn't do it. So those are open cycles. Your place of worship, if you go to a temple or a church or a synagogue or a masjid,
Mm-hmm.
you might have some issues there. Hopefully, you don't have any issues, but if you have it, you will jot it down.
Yeah, but like you're saying, they could be good or bad. It doesn't have,
Yeah,
they don't have
yeah,
to be bad. So,
yeah.
yeah,
It might be you decided to make a contribution, but you didn't do it.
right.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
remains an open cycle. Any team you are part of.
Hmm.
Some of these might overlap and repeat, but the idea is that it triggers the memory. Say, oh yeah, this
It's a
is.
great list. It's a great, yeah, like prompts. All these are like prompts to make you remember. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there will be some issues in politics if you are involved in it, or if you watched television, election issues and things like that come up.
Hmm.
There are lies that you tell yourself.
Yes.
They are open cycles. There are lies that you tell others.
Uh-huh.
There are lies that other people tell you, and you know that it's a lie. It's not genuine.
Right.
Or the lies that you tell yourself, you know that it's a lie. It's not a fact. It's not the
Yeah.
truth. Or when you project yourself in a certain way that's not authentic to other people. It's a lie. So those are all open cycles that
Hmm.
people can work on it. There are betrayals. You feel that somebody has betrayed you. You did so much for some people and they didn't reciprocate. It's a
Yeah.
kind of betrayal. Those are open cycles. Things that you own. You might have open cycles with your computer, with your Zoom, with your car, with your
Hmm.
house, with your other possessions. I have an open cycle just outside. We decided 2 months ago to change our fence.
Hmm.
We have prices from people, from landscaping people, etc., but we haven't taken any action. And one thing or another, it delays it. My neighbor was on vacation because we have shared fence. But,
Right.
so it's an open cycle. And then finally we decided, okay, we are going to take some action in September. So
Hmm.
that's a written open cycle because I have a contract, I have all the prices and everything.
Right.
So uh, then things that have been stolen from you,
Hmm.
and if you haven't done anything about it, it's a grudge that you keep within. That this person stole my job or stole the
My
paper that I was
idea.
writing, my ideas, this, etc., and things like that. You
Yeah.
write it down and then you find ways to close them.
Yeah.
Things that you have stolen from other
Right.
people. Okay, things that got broken by you. It could be
Hmm.
a relationship, it could be a physical thing, it could be you dropped something and it was a very upsetting experience, but you didn't try to just close it, that it's okay.
Hmm.
And then any religious upsets. You might have sometimes, especially people who believe in a higher being, and then they have certain expectations, certain belief systems, and they see around the world that if there is a higher being, why these things happen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So those are open cycles. Broken promises. No, you could have promised uh, somebody something. I usually tell parents this one. Parents, they promise their small children a lot of things, knowing very well that they are going to remain open cycle.
Right. Yeah.
And the children will forget. But the children have fantastic fresh
They
memory.
don't forget.
They don't forget. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, in my opinion, a good enough list for people to, if they take each one of those items and write two or three things, it's going to end up more than 100
Yeah,
uh, open cycles.
it's a really good list to trigger those memories and even, current and past.
Yeah.
So how do we like some of those things are in our control and some of those things are not in our control. So for example, if somebody, you know, thinks or we don't have a good relationship with somebody because they think that we're not authentic or that we're I don't know, not we don't agree with what they're saying or so how do we can control the cycles that are in our control, but how do we control or how do we close those cycles with things that we can't control?
Yeah. So there is a concept, a unique concept. When you have an issue with another person, and let's call it a problem, okay,
Hmm.
with another person. So the problem is defined that it takes two people to have a problem, but it
Right.
takes only one person to resolve it. And so
Right.
the problem is force counter force. You are pushing and the other person is pushing.
Yeah.
And either one of you could just remove yourself from pushing and the issue will be gone.
Right. The problem is, I guess, who is going to be that
Yeah.
person?
So if you want to close a cycle, you will be the person.
Got it. And if you don't close that cycle, that's the way it's going to be forever.
Yes, it's going to be, and it will remain an open cycle in your mind, and it's going to create stress in your life.
Right. So that was going to be my next question. So when we don't close these
Yeah,
cycles, who suffers?
it's usually the person who is keeping the cycle open.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. The other person may not realize that this is an open cycle. For them, it might be closed already.
Right, right. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like people who are angry at other people.
Hmm.
The other person may not even know that you are angry.
Right.
Yeah. So they say that all of these things that we are talking as actually stressors in our body that creates mental issues and stressful situations. So I include this in my workshop on stress management.
Hmm.
What I refer to my workshop is called Every Mess Causes Stress.
It's so true. Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
Every mess causes stress.
And then 6 ways to avoid it
Hmm.
without going to the drugstore.
That's so important because,
Yeah,
it seems like every stress is always medicated or,
yeah,
something's prescribed for it. But I really like your approach. So we're going to have that link down below for that workshop because it sounds really, really good. And I mean, who doesn't have stress, right? And
yeah.
yeah, and
So,
not
so
only does it cause emotional havoc in us, it also causes physical, I'm sure. So I don't know, you probably deal with that as well? Like you talk about the physical.
So this workshop is has the 6 ways. The 6 ways, one of them is what we are just talking about,
Hmm.
the priority management
Right.
is one. So one toolbox is the priority management, and open cycles is just one part of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
So,
So what could be some of the results of closing these open cycles?
so you personally, what I would like to do is sometimes you slow down in your productivity, in your actions, etc. And just to have a surge of energy, what I recommend people is that write down up to 20 open cycles in your life and then close down one after the other, close one after the other. By the time you close 10 of those cycles, you will feel more energetic,
Wow. Yeah.
the surge of energy. Okay. And even if those are small things that what it helps is when you close an open cycle, it gives you the power to be cause over your circumstances.
Hmm.
And that is where the energy comes from.
Yeah. Because even the smallest things might weigh a lot
Yeah.
in throughout our body, or we hold on to them, and it's like you're carrying a backpack full of rocks, right? And
Yeah. And then what they say is that it's the last straw that breaks the back of the camel.
right.
That goes right. So it's because we have so many open cycles. It's like you look at a container that is full of water, let's say.
Hmm.
The let's say it's a tank full of water, and you pour water more, and then eventually it will overlap. It will drip from the sides. There is no
Right.
more space.
Yeah.
But but if you open a tap, a faucet at the bottom of it, and you relieve some of the content out of the thing, then it will have place for more
Right.
to
Right.
receive.
So we
So
can fill our cup, so to speak, with better things that
yes, yeah,
benefit us, instead of, that feed our soul rather than becoming a burden. Or, I mean,
yeah.
even, I think we talked about how it could cause even dementia later on in life when you keep some of these cycles open.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that as well.
So I'm not a medical professional to talk about it, but
Hmm.
let's look at it this way, that if we continuously, let's say starting with the age 40, we become aware of the issues that open cycles create,
Hmm.
we reduce them. Continuously, when we have open cycles, we get rid of them, we close them, we get rid of them, we close them. We, I believe 100% that dementia will not come, or the ratio of the people who might uh, develop dementia will be reduced tremendously.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because
it's a
there are,
contributing factor.
yeah,
It's-
yeah.
it-
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor either, and we're not giving medical advice, at
yes,
all. But, what I've read about dementia, how, stress can cause it. They talk about focusing, when we focus on too many things, we lose track of what we're supposed to do, and that affects our memory a lot as well. Yeah, so,
So in the University of Pennsylvania, I believe they had done a research in neuroscience, and they said that the human brain, in the short-term memory, they can keep up to 7 uh, items in their
right.
memory. And that's how initially, when the phone numbers were established, the phone numbers without the area code were
Yeah.
7 numbers.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It can be easily kept. And when it is more than that, one of the things the people recommend is to put them on post-it notes. put the items on post-it notes and you stick them on a board or something like that, so it doesn't overcrowd your brain.
Right.
Something that you need to do, or you make a list of the to-do list,
Exactly. Yeah.
to-do
Yeah.
items, and that way your memory is manageable. It's
Right.
clear.
Right. The part of your brain is kind of freed for other
Yes,
stuff.
if people have the ability to, so open cycles are tasks that you need to do,
Hmm.
and there is this process of what they call it uh, task triage.
Oh, okay.
The task triage is like the triage system is taken from the
The
hospitals, from the
hospitals.
medical
Yeah.
profession. And so in the hospitals, World War One, when a lot of hundreds of people will be brought to the hospitals,
Hmm.
and the doctors had this moral issue because they have sworn their oath that they will save lives, and then they're overwhelmed. So what to do? So the medical profession, they came together and find a solution for it and said that, okay, you triage the people who come to the hospital in these, at least these three categories.
Right.
There are those people that no matter what intervention you do, they won't survive. There are people that don't need immediate intervention and they will still survive.
Hmm.
And there are those patients who, if you don't have immediate attention to them, will die. So that's how you triage them.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Now, so for task triage, there are several methods. I will mention a couple of them for you. And one of them you will be familiar with because you are a passion test facilitator.
Hmm.
So one way to triage tasks is based on that formula that when you are faced with a decision,
Yeah.
an opportunity, or a choice, choose in favor of your passions.
Right.
So of those to-do list items to do, look at them. Which one of those items are going to take you closer to living your passions? And which items are taking you away from living your passions?
Right.
That's how you triage them. This is one method.
Yeah, I use that all the time. And just for our audience, the passion test is it's a tool that we learned, Ahmad and I, and many, many others. And it's used in terms of finding out your passions, your goal. I kind of do, I say passion slash goals slash purpose, just to make it
Yeah.
more, easier to understand. Because anytime I say passion, people sometimes they're a bit confused as to what, we really mean when we say passion.
Yeah.
But I use that all the time, even when I'm teaching my courses at the college. I always, bring in that
Yeah.
quote because it's true. We're faced with so many decisions throughout the day that, if we're not careful on what we decide to do, we won't get to where we want to get to.
Yeah. Another way is what is referred to as the Eisenhower Matrix. The Eisenhower Matrix was popularized by Stephen Covey in his Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, where
Hmm.
you make this um, vertical and horizontal line, and one of them is important, not important, urgent, not urgent. You create four quadrants. And then, so some items are important and urgent. Those are the fires that you want to put. And then
Right.
some are important but not urgent. Some are urgent but not important. And some
Hmm.
are not important and not urgent.
Hmm.
And you could just ignore them.
Yeah.
And by decision, you say, I don't need to be involved in it and close them. So that's another way. Or simply, if you have a whiteboard at home or in your office, you just draw a vertical line uh, and say important from zero to high,
Hmm.
horizontal from zero to high in urgency. And then you have these post-it notes with tasks and you put them how urgent and how important, and you stick it there. Another one you stick here, another one you stick here, based on that one that you do it.
Right.
That's another way of triaging tasks. A third way of triaging tasks is by associated penalties. So, you divide them into must be done. If it is not done, you will suffer either financially or physically or something like that.
Right.
And then it should be done, which is not as strict. And then it shouldn't be done because
Yeah.
it's neither important nor urgent.
Yeah.
So first you attend to the items that must be done, and then when they are done, doing the should be done becomes very easy because now you have closed so many cycles and you have this high energy available for you to take care of the other tasks.
Right. And to take care of the things that you really want to take care of
Yeah,
that are really important to you. Yeah, and this can be applied as well. I mean, it's in our personal life, but it also can be applied in a workplace scenario as
it's
well.
it's it's everywhere. So for me, to separate work from the rest of the life is just to study it, to study that, yes, these tasks don't belong in the workplace and these tasks belong in the workplace. But when their impact on our life, you cannot separate them.
So how
So what happens is let's say if you wake up in the morning fresh and full of energy, and you had a very nice conversation with your partner at night, and you had a good sleep,
Mhm.
and you woke up full of energy, when you go to work you take that energy with you. If you closed all the open cycles that were scheduled to be closed in the work, you
Mhm.
come out full of energy and you bring that energy home.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
there is no separation. It is just to study it for study and for understanding purposes. We
Mhm.
separate into parts. Our life works like a well-oiled machine, and in order to understand well-oiled machine, we need to know its parts,
Mhm.
how the parts work and how they interact with each other. But the machine is composed of all the parts.
Right. And yeah, yeah, it is. And the opposite happens as well. If you're,
Yeah,
depend those cycles, if they're remained open, then you're not going to feel as energized.
that's correct.
Yeah.
In the back of your mind, those things still to be done, so it bother you, and you can focus on something new. One last item that I want to mention about open cycles, to go
Hmm.
back to cycles, is sometimes it helps us as human beings not to close open cycles,
Oh, okay.
intentionally keep them open.
Oh, okay. So give us an example. This
Yeah,
sounds
so
interesting.
and that the reason for it is that we want to be the masters. So we don't come from the position that we are servants of closing open cycles.
Okay.
We determine which cycles to close and which to keep open.
It's our choice.
It's our choice. And just fulfilling that choice gives us energy because we are cause over it then. We are not the effect of the open cycles. We are the
Hmm.
cause over it. And by making that decision that, okay, I want to keep this cycle open, and it's what they call it, it's called causative effect. I decide to be the effect of this open cycle.
Okay. But it could be a bad cycle that you want to keep
But
open.
no, but you have to see which one it is. I mean, you have to analyze it. Most of the time, we say that when you are in love, you are the effect of the object that you love. That could be a person, that could be your creator, that could be the car, that could
Hmm.
be your computer, that could be your pet.
Right.
But if that love gives you energy, if that love gives you meaning, then you keep it. Even though you are an effect, but you become a causative effect because you decide that you want to be an effect.
Okay. And that is and you classify that as an open cycle?
It is an open cycle, of course.
Okay.
Uh,
So I'm not understanding 100% how that's an open cycle or yeah, how that's an open
well,
cycle.
an open, it hasn't been closed, right? So you start,
Okay.
and it hasn't been closed. It's continuing.
Right.
So we said a cycle of action is start, change, or develop, and then close.
Got it. Okay.
We're in that relationship. The relationship is continuing. It's not closed. It's not ended.
Okay. So in the example of calling your sister then, that was an open cycle and you decided or because you didn't take any action, it wasn't closed, but I guess that one is it open and close because that
So
cycle
the, the, the action of making a phone call, decide, phone call, speak, say goodbye, is is a cycle of action.
one cycle. Okay.
The relationship is a different thing.
Got it. Okay.
The relationship is a different thing. So this calling, this cycle of action is feeding the relationship to continue.
Right. Okay. And I can see why it would be a burden or something bad if you don't close that cycle because of the calling
Yeah,
cycle. Right. Okay. Got it. And then the relationship cycle remains open.
open. Yes.
Right. Okay.
I'm open to any questions or anything that you
Yeah,
want.
so I mean, I've been asking throughout the talk, but I just find it really fascinating and I really like your list because a lot of the times we may not even be aware that a cycle is open and how it's affecting us. But I really like your list of inventory because, when you first asked me, to make a list. I thought, well, I don't know. I mean, I can only think of maybe five, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking current. But then when, you were talking, you gave us those pointers of the list, like think about this and think about that, then all of these other things
Yes.
came up. And I can see how, you know what, 100 items is easy to come up with when you're being prompted like that. But that just goes to show how deep our cycles are embedded in us. Um, and you're going to our childhood as well, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not just the
It's
here and
true.
now or 2 years ago. It's, you know, however many years ago.
One good thing about this is that there are there are chains of open cycles that are interrelated, and when you close one of them, the whole chain closes.
Oh, so it's almost like it collapses if you
Yes, it
close. Oh,
collapses
that's
and
interesting. Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. And I can see that, especially if it does have something to do with your upbringing.
yeah,
If that cycle is closed, let's say when I was 10 years old, it'll collapse all the other ones.
yes.
That's great. So you do offer the stress webinar. Are there any other webinars that you
Yes, I don't call them webinars, I call them Zoominars.
Zoominars? Okay, yes. I remember that. Yes,
Yes,
Zoominars.
and I have trademark. I put trademark on it because nobody has used the word Zoominar.
Oh,
That,
perfect.
and
Yeah.
I've been using it for the since I have the Zoom account. I've been using
Okay.
Zoominar. So we do offer. I sent you my website.
Yeah, so I will post
So
it.
there are certain services that we offer that they all help us with our mental health. One of the big stressors is actually difficult conversations.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have just started a program. We call it 3 ways to make difficult conversations easy in the workplace. When I advertise, it's in the workplace and
Hmm.
beyond. But the actual title is in the B room. And that B stands for for boardroom or for bedroom.
Okay.
The difficult conversations, the technique that we teach help everywhere. I told you that there I don't separate between work and life.
Right. Yeah.
And even my coaching is called Live and Lead by Design Coaching. So it's a
Excellent.
holistic approach to coaching. I don't coach people just on career or life or things like that. The
Hmm.
whole person is important. A
It
holistic
is, yeah,
approach.
because it all overlaps. We
Yes.
can't, yeah, it's like you said, we can't really separate those parts of our lives. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have all that information in the description below. And it was really nice chatting again with you. Always a pleasure, Ahmad. And, I like the way you shared with us the importance of clearing and closing those open cycles that we have. And, by doing so, I feel that it will help our emotional wellness, and especially as we age, and we're all aging, no matter if you're 40, 50,
Yeah.
60 and above, we all need to clear those cycles. And it was great knowing and understanding the importance of closing them. Um, so for the audience, if you have any questions that you want to share, or you want to share your own experiences, maybe you've closed some cycles or you have open cycles, but please leave a comment below. And as again, I will have Ahmad's uh, contact information if you're interested in connecting with him. And do take advantage of his Zoominars.
The best way to connect will be through LinkedIn. I've given you the LinkedIn
Okay, so your LinkedIn
link there
information.
also. And if they just mention that they're connecting because they listen to your podcast, and
Perfect.
to mention the last
Yeah.
thing is that in every language, and specifically in English language, um, every word has a particular meaning, and no two words have the same meaning. Even though most of us, when we speak language, we use words interchangeably.
Yes.
And it is important that when we speak to ourselves, we use the appropriate vocabulary, and the vocabulary that is empowering us rather than disempowering us. And you mentioned the issue of aging, that yes, we all age, and that can be said in many different ways. One way will be that I'm getting old. The
Mhm.
other one will be that I'm getting more mature and more experienced, and they all will have different impact on our psyche.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I really don't like oh re like retired people, or seniors. I do not like that. When you see seniors discounts, Um, but you're right. Speaking to ourselves in a positive way is very empowering. And so I always say, would you speak to your best friend that way? If you're not going to speak to your best friend that way, why are you speaking to yourself that way? So choose these words wisely. And I'm struggling with, the term healthy aging. Sometimes I use healthy aging / living, because aging doesn't mean that you are old. It just means that you are advancing in age. I mean, you know, it's something that is happening.
So one way to resolve this, life is an open cycle, right? It's a cycle of action. We are
Mhm.
born, we grow, and then we end this lifetime.
Yeah.
And perhaps people who have been wise in our history, they came up with this idea of a super being, a creator, and that life doesn't end with death. It's
Hmm.
a transition.
Yeah.
It's a
Perfect.
transition to another world, to another way of existence.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we look at it that way, yes, this cycle is closed, but then another cycle is open.
Yeah. And I always say, I mean, I'm not complaining that I am still in this cycle, aging,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah, yeah. That's a great point. Thank you so much.
very
All right.
welcome.
Well, it was a pleasure talking with you this morning. And thank you to the audience for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more wellness content. And we'll see you next time on the Balanced Path. Thank you so much, Aman. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share these insights with your audience.
Anytime. And anytime you want to come back, there's so many other wonderful topics that we can discuss. But we'll save that for another session. All right. Bye.